Stop, you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now, we have new stories every day. Now let's go. This was supposed to be our last year alone in our summer house. We had given it to our children, who wanted to keep it in the family. It was becoming too difficult for us to come here, not as easy as it was in our younger days. While planning our move to San Diego, we sold our house in Connecticut. The contents of the Hartford house were already packed and sent to a storage facility in the gated community where we were set to move in October. We didn't take anything from the cabin except our clothes. Our car had already been sold, and we left the old Grand Cherokee here by the lake for our children to use during their visits. Our new home was built in a retirement community. Just a mile from the gates was a small medical clinic, a branch of a larger medical center. Everything we needed was close by. Shopping was convenient, and a golf cart was more than enough to get around the area. The weather here was beautiful year-round, and storms like the ones common on the East Coast were rare. It seemed like the perfect place to spend the rest of our lives. It had been a good life. Marie loved me, and I loved her. We had our disagreements, but we got along wonderfully. She was an amazing partner, though now we both rarely had the energy for intimacy. We still kissed and held each other. Hugs never go out of style, and from time to time, the magic still happened. Our children had grown up happily. They all had wonderful spouses and were content, each finding meaningful roles in society. Mary and I had 5 children, and we were blessed with 11 grandchildren and even 4 great-grandchildren. Our children were our pride and joy. It was a beautiful night, the end of August. The sky was painted in soft pink and sandy hues by the setting sun, and the crickets had just begun their evening symphony when Marie said, "I have something to tell you." I knew this day would come, and I was truly ready for it. There was no family as close and loving as mine, and I thought I could keep my secrets. Yes, I had secrets, and now I wasn't going to shy away from letting Mary know them all, especially since I knew her secrets too, at least most of them. "All right," I replied. I knew this conversation was coming, and I suspected it would happen before we moved to San Diego. Honestly, I thought you'd wait a bit longer until the actual move. You knew we'd have this conversation. How could you have known? I only decided today. That you'd drink enough vodka to finally spill it. Yes, my dear, I noticed how nervous you were, especially since we both enjoyed quite a bit of good liquor tonight. Believe me, I haven't become an old drunk. My head is clear, and the vodka just dulled the painful effects of arthritis in my knees. No, darling, that's not it at all. I need to tell you something. Oh, you mean you found my stash of weed? Yeah, it's been a long time since I gave up the life of a junkie. But honey, I've always liked to enjoy a puff or two in the evenings. At my age, I'm not too worried about being labeled a stoner. Even if I got hooked on that stuff or even remembered cocaine or heroin, most of my life is behind me, so I wouldn't lose much. Just a few short years. Charles, I don't want you talking like that. You won't miss a single precious moment of your wonderful life. So, as I was saying. Oh, then you must have learned of my predilection for adult films. I should have known you'd find out sooner or later. You're so clever. Tell me, how long did it take for you to crack the sites I like? I thought the password was perfect, wasn't it? It gets very strong ratings on every site I use it for. How about my alternate one? Do you like it? Charles, that's disgusting. I had no idea. You found my toy. No. My Viagra. No. My pump. I said no. My plug. Charles. Oh, for heaven's sake, the DNA report. She suddenly went very quiet. Sweetheart, you don't have any secrets left that I don't know about. I know everything. You did a DNA test. Yes, many years ago, but it didn't matter to me. As soon as she was born, I saw his face in hers. She didn't look anything like me. You see, as I mentioned, Marie and I had 5 children. Among them, we raised the youngest, who was born to Marie but wasn't mine. When you insisted on naming her Carla with a C, I put 2 and 2 together and realized that you and Carl Donaldson had made a fool of me. You named her after him. When the doctors checked the baby right after birth, they took her blood. That girl couldn't be my daughter. As soon as DNA testing became available, I managed to get a hair from Carla and ran the tests. She's Donaldson's daughter. And you lived with this your whole life. Charlie, I'm so sorry. Carla really isn't your daughter. Why didn't you say something sooner? We had a wonderful family, and you didn't seem to change anything about it, at least not when it came to me. I loved you, and your affair didn't affect our everyday life. I wanted our children to grow up happy and confident that we would always be there for them. That's why I kept my discoveries a secret. That's so unlike you. I expected that, once you found out, you'd seek revenge. I did, but since you two kept your affair secret and it didn't affect me, Jenny and I decided to keep our revenge secret from you as well. It took my wife a moment to process what I had just said. Ginny had been Carl's wife until he passed away a few years ago. She herself had passed away a year before this conversation of ours. We enjoyed moments of payback together, while you were sneaking around with Carl, having sex in the backseat of his car, or during your walks in the woods. Guinea and I were making love in bed at home, making the children he thought were his. What? Yes, you see, Carl and Guinea apparently couldn't have children. They spent years trying and spent a fortune on treatments for Carl's infertility. His little swimmers just couldn't get the job done. You, it seems, hit the jackpot with a 1 in a million chance from one of his sessions. But yes, all 4 of their children are mine. Do they know? Yes, before she passed, she told them the whole story. In fact, they all came to talk to me about it at length afterward. Carl raised them, and they'll always treasure him as their father. But they understand why Guinea did what she did and have accepted, or at least come to terms with it, because otherwise, they wouldn't have been born. You won, didn't you? Won? What do you mean, dear? When we got married, you wanted a big family. I didn't want more than 5 kids, but you still got your 8. Actually, 11. Her eyes widened as she realized I hadn't stopped at Guinea Donaldson. Then they widened even more as it hit her. So my nieces are your. Aunt Marie earned a gold star. She always joked that her nieces looked as much like my sister as they did me. Yes, dear. Your sister saw you sneaking away with Roger that night in Cancun, when we all went on vacation together. She followed you to the beach and hid behind a tree, watching as he had sex with you on a lounge chair. She overheard your conversation about how hot it was seeing each other naked on the sand when we all sunbathed together earlier in the day. She also heard you both agreed to meet on Thursday evenings after we returned from vacation. So you signed up for dance class and he took up bowling, and once a month you skipped your lessons to have your fun in a motel on the highway. The curtains in the room weren't fully closed, so we ended up with a lot of revealing photos. I scanned them onto my laptop, and I can show them to you before we go to bed. Maybe you'd like to take a stroll down memory lane. I've got pictures from your other affairs too. Marie really did look beautiful when she was shocked. Relax, I didn't have to seek revenge on any of the others. They all met with their own tragic fates that I had no control over. It seems like you've got some bad karma. Remember Danny Dawson, the delivery guy from the Postal Service? He got arrested for drugs, didn't he? The cops pulled him over after a tip that he was transporting cocaine in the cargo hold and delivering it to his regular clients right to their doorsteps. He's probably still sitting in prison. And that time when you made a move on your boss, someone called his wife, who comes from a well-known family in town, and told her she could follow her husband on Wednesday afternoon. He'd got caught with his pants down and his secretary's mouth around him. During the divorce, his wife left him without a dime. After that, he couldn't find a job anywhere. No one would hire him. As a result, if you didn't already know, he drank himself to death and was found in a ditch in the city park with his throat slit. But you got lucky. You were at his Tuesday fling, and his wife never found out about you. No worries, your secrets are safe with me. And remember the day that Exterminator died in his van? That was the day he was fumigating our house, and instead of tipping him, you decided to sleep with him. Somehow there was a leak from his chemical tanks, filling the van with toxic fumes. Well, at least he went painlessly. Then there was little Charlie's first-grade teacher, Jack Riles. He was found burning in his bed when the fire department finally reached his house, remember? He supposedly fell asleep with a lit cigarette and almost burned alive. You knew about all of them, and you didn't stop me. Why would I? To get a divorce? So I could live in a crappy little apartment while you enjoy the comforts of my house and my paycheck. So I could see my kids only once or twice a month on the weekends. So if I ever wanted to remarry, I'd have to take on another job just to support 2 families, without having any time for dating, and end up never having sex again. You got to be kidding. Marie, you were always my dream woman. You took great care of me and the kids. You were an amazing homemaker. Working part-time, you earned as much as most people did working overtime. You were and still are a treasure, and I would never let you go. But I betrayed you. I cheated on you. More than that, you were a serial cheater, an insatiable nymphomaniac. But because of what you did, you changed the rules for me too. I slept with so many women I lost count. Full-figured, thin, curvy, flat, blondes, brunettes, redheads, soft, tall, short, smart, not so smart, bimbos, ladies, girls, geeks, athletes, celebrities, rough, smooth, hot, cool, I had them all. It was an incredible personal life. So don't think you have to confess everything. I didn't confess to anything. You already knew everything, and it seems I know nothing about you. We sat for a little longer, sipping fine red wine and watching as the sun finished its work and descended into the darkness of the night. The frogs and other nocturnal creatures joined the crickets in their chorus, and I felt incredibly at peace. After that, Marie got up and went to bed. I fell asleep right in the chair, smirking slightly, knowing that now she was aware of it all. The next morning, Marie found her husband still sitting on the porch in the rocking chair. He was still gripping the stem of his half-full wine glass. Everything around him was peaceful. A gentle smile was frozen on his face. The night before, she had shed a few tears upon hearing his revelations, but when she woke up in the morning, she felt completely fine. Years ago, she had wanted more than Charlie could offer her. He was the best lover she had ever known, but she needed more than any one man could provide. There were always other men around, eager to take advantage of her weakness. In truth, she was content that Charlie had children who weren't his. It seemed fair. She suspected that the moments in their life when he mysteriously lost money, forcing them to tighten their belts for a while, were probably times when he was giving a little extra to her sister or to Guinea Donaldson, ensuring the well-being of his other children. And he always cared for their youngest as if she were his own. It dawned on Marie that the accidents her lovers had faced were likely not accidents at all. Charlie had managed to take his revenge, and that, too, felt right in a way. Charlie was a real man, and stealing his woman was not something he could easily accept or forgive. It was remarkable how he managed to juggle both his life and hers, allowing the house to remain a home. What happened outside the home stayed outside, until last night. He loved her. He had loved her his entire life. This wonderful, incredible man loved her so much that he accepted her flaws and found a way to stay strong despite them. He played by the rules she had rewritten. All the guilt she had felt over the years for her inability to control her insatiable desires left her now as she held his cold, stiff hand for the last time. She looked at the wine glass and gently took it from his hand. She sniffed the wine and understood everything. It didn't smell the way it usually did. Charlie had left this world on his own terms. He never planned to move to San Diego. He wanted to stay here by the lake forever. Marie called their eldest son and asked him to come to the lake immediately. She told him that his father had passed. She did the same with her oldest niece and with Ellen Donaldson, Charlie, and Guinea's eldest daughter. Then she took her place beside Charlie and kissed him goodbye. "Thank you, my love," she whispered. Under his frozen smile, she drank the remaining wine from the glass. The bitter taste faded quickly, and she was able to appreciate the complexities of the wine's bouquet, just as Charlie had taught her. The sweetness, the undertones of plum, and the late aroma of cherry danced on her tongue. The perfect flavor. The lake before her was warmed by the sun, the perfect view. Her eyes closed, and everything fell silent. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.